3, 2, 1. Fresno Beehive. This is the Fresno Beehive. Podcast episode number 45 here at the Fresno Bee. I am Josh Teehee. With me around the table,
Rory Appleton,
Jody Murray,
Brianna Calix.
All right, and we are here to talk pop culture as we so often do.
as is our want.
As is our want every week. To start, and I will mention this, we are a pop culture podcast. We're not a political podcast. I don't think this is necessarily the proper place for us to talk about this particular thing that I'm going to mention.
But we're about to.
I at least want to mention it because it was something that I personally had several conversations about over the last week, and this is Aziz Ansari. I can't. That's not even Aziz.
Aziz.
Who was? He wasn't. It wasn't sexual assault. Or maybe it was, depending on.
He was accused of unwanted advances. I think that's a nice way of saying it. I think sexual assault is probably not too far off, but
I think legally
unwanted
it doesn't meet the standard for sexual
So there was
assault,
there was a woman came forward and she had this story that she told to was it
Babe.net.
Babe.net about an experience that she had, and it set off a firestorm.
Yeah.
And like I said, three guys and sitting around a table with one woman, probably not the best place to get into like a full-on discussion about this. But I had several conversations with both my men and women friends about this, and it's just such an interesting thing. So if I would suggest, if anyone is interested, do a little Google search, find out, read as much as you can about it, because it was very, yeah. I mean, it kind of hit all of the platforms.
I literally have not been able to quit thinking about it or talking about it ever since it came out.
Wow. Okay. Moving on to the second thing, which some people have seen as a major victory for women, is the Grey's Anatomy announcement.
She's bringing home a giant pot of gold. The Grey's Anatomy star has just become the highest paid drama actress on TV after signing a $20 million deal.
We did a little search and found out that the Friends cast.
The Friends cast were all.
They were
all 6, 7 of them were paid just an insane number, like $1 million, I think it was.
Like $1 million,
episode.
And what's her name from Big Bang? Big Bang?
Kaylee, you're right. No, Kaylee Cuoco gets $1 million an episode, and then Deborah Messing for Will and Grace had made quite a lot. And then trying to think of who the other female.
But poor Ellen
comedy
was only getting what was the bump up? Do you know?
So she asked for $5,000 more so that her contract would be more competitive with the guy
Patrick
Dempsey.
That was back in the day.
And that was
That
really
was
interesting because
previously.
specifically, the way I read it, specifically, she said, just out of principle, give me $5,000 more than Patrick Dempsey is getting because this is Grey's Anatomy.
She
And my character is Meredith Grey.
not McDreamy's Anatomy.
Yeah, it's not McDreamy's Anatomy, even though some people...
music festivals. So within the last month, a bunch of music festivals. This is the time when music festivals start giving their lineup announcements. They've been pushing them earlier and earlier. Most of the festivals are in spring and summer, the big sort of Coachella, Bonnaroo, the big festivals. So they all announced at the beginning of the year. Coachella announced, and
Baychella.
it was like kind of a little tiny. I don't know if people were as excited as they. So as you point out, Beyonce was a headliner. Also, The Weeknd and Eminem was
Eminem.
Yep.
Eminem.
Yeah.
So my question is, so they put out their lineup. I personally was underwhelmed. Other lineups have followed. Some of them were really good, leading me to question if Coachella has sort of been dethroned as the king of music festivals. Because for a while it was like Coachella was anything anyone ever talked about, and the lineup would come out, and you would just be, wow. And there were other festivals doing other things, but they were like, no one really had, the pull that Coachella had. Now, if you look at some of these festivals, I mean, they just kind of, a few of them seem to me like they put Coachella to shame.
I feel like Coachella has just like become like 100% mainstream. Like,
Yeah.
like when you
It's
look
very
at
commercial.
Yes, it's I don't know, when Coachella was maybe like, I don't want to say in its early stages, I don't know, but like a couple of years ago, it was like, it seemed just so out of reach and like unattainable and like, oh, it's, I don't know, it seemed more of like an indie vibe to me.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, okay, once you got Beyonce at, at a music festival,
Right.
like, can you really like call yourself like an alternative,
Sure.
scene? I think, and just, I mean, everyone goes. It's so popular now. It's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of lost that charm and, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one of the problems with Coachella is, I mean, they were kind of screwed by things of not their own design. I mean, Beyonce was supposed to headline last year,
Right.
and was pregnant, couldn't do it. Lady Gaga did it, so everybody knew Beyonce was headlining this
Right.
year. Everybody knew they weren't going to get a bigger act than Beyonce because there is no bigger act
Right.
than Beyonce.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think when you have what's probably the biggest act in the world, that is not your surprise,
Right.
like drop them on thing. I think that really hurts. But I do think, The Weeknd's, he's great, and Eminem is great too. But I think where they really hurt themselves is there's a massive drop off from their first build acts to their second build acts. I mean, Haim's the second build act on Saturday. They're playing right before Beyonce, I think.
Yeah.
And I just think, I like Haim very much. But there is not a second build act. And you got a Perfect Circle. I mean, they're a good band, but they're not. I mean, it's just when I look at Bottle Rock and Bonnaroo, which have very similar lineups,
They're solid all
where
the way
they
down,
get
yeah.
at you is the
Yeah.
second act being really sort of good. I mean, they've got
Yeah, I'm looking at Bonnaroo right now, and it's like
Yeah.
Eminem's headlining, Killers, Muse.
Yeah, and,
you
well,
know,
Muse I just feel is like the greatest rock band. that
Sturgill
there is,
Simpson,
pretty
Bon
much.
Iver, Paramore. I mean,
but yeah, Paramore. I mean, that's a really good second act. I mean, there's all kinds of the second tier act on starts with the Chainsmokers and Halsey, who have the song together as well.
Is that for
This is for Bottle Rock,
Bottle
and,
Rock, which
Snoop
is
Dogg,
for us kind of local?
Snoopy Dogg,
It's
Snoop
in
Dogg,
Napa,
Incubus, and
California.
what they also have that Coachella doesn't have is like the real far reach back. Coachella, for some reason, usually does have. I think they had Depeche Mode recently as a second tier act, but this one's got Billy Idol. Bottle Rock, I mean, has Billy Idol, has got Earth, Wind, and Fire. It's got some bands where like I wouldn't seek them out, but it'd be like, oh, okay, well I know those bands. Like I'm happy to sit through, and I think that's the key to a festival. Is like the headliners are great, but you need something to where you're gonna have something to do during the day. You're gonna want to go.
So for me, the only reason that I would go to a festival is for those undercard acts, because they're the only ones you're gonna be able to see in any sort of ideal way, unless you want to be crammed up against a stage with 100,000 people. Otherwise, you're gonna be a mile away from the stage watching some little Ant-Man do a little dance. So if there's no one on the undercard that in the lower bills that you want to see, it's not going to be a whole lot of fun. Recommend. Who wants to start?
I'll go first.
No one.
I've got a recommendation.
All right.
I'm going to recommend a game. We're going back on
Video
brand.
games, okay.
Going back on brand, and I am recommending a computer game that is called Divinity Original Sin. It's a Divinity : Original Sin 2. And it's a very good, like, old school role playing game in which it's the typical Dungeons and Dragons workup where it's humans and elves and dwarves, and you've got a fighter and a rogue and a wizard and all that. But it's really, really a brutal kind of game. I mean, it's really tough, and it's really cool because they allow you to go at problems. It's not a typical like go to this dungeon and then finish the dungeon sort of a thing. It's like you can go at problems a whole lot of ways. There are ways to basically progress through the game without fighting hardly at all. If you're smart enough and can figure out, there's puzzles. There's an element of like puzzle solving and things like that. It's very, very good. I bought it for friends for Christmas. They all liked it. My wife doesn't really play video games, but she plays with me. You can play it locally at home together. You can play online together, up to 4 people, and it's just a really strong game. And it's a PC game, so your best bet is getting it on Steam.
Okay, there you go. I like it. Okay, and then the game Divinity Original Sin 2.
Yes.
Colon.
Yeah.
Go.
Oh boy.
I'm
I'm talking about
pointing to
staying
you.
on brand. I warned you guys. I enjoy webcomics. I've got several that I follow regularly, and I had to pass this one along, and I actually had Josh in mind when I decided to say something about this, because Josh has talked about, well, how could you possibly go through these episodic things and then you stop and you have to wait. This one's actually almost done. It's almost done. It's this close. The name of the comic is Zebra Girl. zebragirl.com, I believe, and
I like it already.
It goes well. It's nothing that probably the title would describe. It goes.
Okay.
It was begun in the year 2000 by a kid named Joe England, a recent art school graduate, and with a few breaks along the way, he's now reached the point where he's finished the main story last month, and all he has left to do is what he calls an epilogue, which might last for maybe a month or two. It's going to start like the 23rd of February. But this thing has gone for about 800. It's got about 800 pages.
Wow.
And Zebra Girl is basically it's based in our real world. It's got 3 friends living in this house. They find a magic tome up in the attic that just completely turns their lives inside out. The first thing that happens is they're not supposed to slam the book shut. They slam it shut, and Sandra gets transformed into a demon whose skin is in black and white stripes. She's got big old horns coming out. She's got a third eye. She's got big old talons and a tail and the whole bit. She's Zebra Girl. The guy in our Threes company triumvirate here, eventually, because it was like his fault for slamming the book, he transforms himself through study into an archmage magician in hopes of trying to at first he tries to fix her and never does. Sorry, not giving too much away. Never does. The story just goes on and on. It goes into different worlds. It comes stays in our world. It goes on to some strange interdimensional things. The artist-creator kid named Joe England has this amazing art style.
Okay.
All right, Brianna, save us from the nerd stuff.
Mine is very
and Jody.
mainstream.
Okay, good.
I would just recommend SZA's album.
SZA,
it's like a couple months old now, I guess, but I've just been really enjoying it. It's very like moody, I would
think
say.
Mackenzie
Mackenzie
was
recommended
recommending her
Yeah.
generally, not the
her
album,
existence.
but her existence.
She's
said
also
she,
the second headliner
She was
on
like-
Coachella on Friday.
She was like
She's
right
After the
before.
weekend.
She's right before the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, she's really good.
What's the album called? Do you know? Just so we
Called,
can get
it's
people.
Control, but it's like
Oh, yeah, that's right.
CTRL.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's really good. I really like it.
So I am going to also recommend a music act, but it's a music act that's completely no one will probably know about. It's a band called.
It's okay, you can tell us anyway.
It's
Yeah.
a band called the Lillingtons. And they are from Ohio, I think. And they've been around. They're a pop punk band. They've been around for a long time. And they took some sort of hiatus for probably 11 years. They have an album out now on Fat Records that just came out, so they'll be touring again. But just super great stuff. They started out very much in line with that kind of Ramones. There was the Ramones, and then there were a group of bands in the 90s into the 2000s that kind of did Ramones type stuff. New album on Fat Records is way more like in the pop punk realm, so
more like
getting
like
into
Green
like
Day or
Green,
like
more like
Blink-182?
Blink, like that
Yeah.
that style.
Yeah.
But still a lot of just blistering fast kind of songs, and all the songs are weird, like either about aliens, zombies, like all that kind of stuff.
Sounds good.
All right, so thanks everyone. Thanks you guys for being here. Thanks everyone for listening. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, maybe. I can't remember.
We'll make it happen.
If not, don't worry about it. And you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Please do. Leave us a review if you could. Thanks.
And it wasn't recording. No, just kidding.
No.
That was before.
2, 1.